The unexpected war, the Galactic Empire's fleet, appeared over Earth like a steel storm, their massive ships, blocking out the stars. These weren't explorers, they weren't traders, they were conquerors to the Empire. Earth was just another resourcer planet, inhabited by a primitive species. Easy prey. Admiral Torvak stood on the bridge of the flagship Dominion, looking down at the blue-green world. Beautiful, isn't it? He said, his voice dripping with arrogance. A shame they don't know there. Place. His second in command, a younger officer named Lauren, hesitated. So the planet hasn't responded to our demands. No broadcasts, no transmissions. It's strange. Torvak smirked. They are cowards, probably scrambling to decide how to surrender. He turned to the communication officer. Send the ultimatum again, make it clear, submit or be destroyed. The message was sent echoing across Earth's frequencies, in dozens of languages. It was short and brutal, as Imperial messages always were. But Earth's reply wasn't what anyone expected. It wasn't a plea for mercy. It wasn't even an attempted negotiation. It was a single sentence. Do not cross this line on the surface. Earth remained calm. People went about their daily lives, seemingly oblivious to the fleet hovering above them. The Empire saw this as ignorance to the people of Earth. It was quiet defiance. Torv's patience wore thin. Send a scouting fleet, he ordered. Let's see how long they keep up this trade. A dozen smaller ships broke away from the main fleet, descending toward Earth's atmosphere. Their mission was simple: test Earth's defenses. TVX didn't expect much. After all, no speci at this technological level had ever posed a threat to the Empire. As the scout ships entered the upper atmosphere, something happened that even TVX couldn't have predicted. Earth's skies erupted. Massive drones, black as the void, rose from hidden bases around the planet. They moved with unnatural precision, striking the Empire's ships with devastating accuracy. The scout fleet barely had time to react before half of their ships were turned into ling wreckage on the Dominion. Alarms blared as reports came in. We're losing ships, Admiral shouted. Lauren, their weapons air. Impossible, Tvak barked. He gripped the edge of the command console, his knuckles white. How could primitives develop this kind of technology back on Earth? The world watched in silence as their enemies fell in secret bunkers. Military commanders observed the battle with grim satisfaction. Earth had been preparing for this moment for decades. They had studied the galaxy, analyzed the Empire strategies, and built defenses that could strike fear into even the most advanced fleets. But they weren't celebrating. This was only the beginning. The remaining scout ships flood back to the fleet, battered and broken. Torv's fury was palpable. These humans dare to challenge us, he growled. They'll regret this insolence. Lauren stepped forward cautiously. Admiral, perhaps we should reconsider our approach. Their defenses. Tvak silenced him with a glare. Enough. This is not a negotiation, it's a conquest. But as he stared at the planet below, dew began to creep into his mind. The humans had surprised them once. What else were they hiding on Earth? A shadowy figure watched the unfolding events from a hidden command center. The man known only as Director Kane smiled faintly. The Empire has underestimated us, he said. Let them come, we'll show them what happens when you push humanity too far outside. The skies were calm again, but the tension hung heavy in the air. The Empire wasn't finished, and neither was Earth, as the Dominion loomed above its weapons, charging for a full-scale assault. One thing became clear. This wasn't going to be a quick or easy victory for the Empire. This was war, the silent defiance. The Galactic Empire's fleet repositioned itself, its shadow growing larger over the fragile-looking Earth. Below, TVX paced the bridge of the Dominion, his frustration mountain. No primitive planet had ever resisted the Empire like this. He was determined to crush Earth, not only for its defiance, but to restore the fear the Empire commanded across the galaxy. Admiral Lauren began hesitantly. The drones we encountered, they weren't random defenses. They were tactical, coordinated, almost as if they're just machines. Torvak interrupted. Machines can be broken. Deploy the second wave. I want this planet under our control before the next cycle. On his command, another fleet of ships moved into Earth's orbit, this time carrying assault troops and ground vehicles. They were the Empire's most ruthless forces, soldiers trained to break resistance and destroy hope. But as the fleet began its descent, Earth's response was not what anyone expected. Every satellite orbiting the planet went dark. The Empire sensors scrambled their targeting systems, failing one by one. Communication between ships grew distorted, then silent. What's happening? TVX demanded. Our systems are being overridden, said Lauren, his voice laced with disbelief. Some kind of interference. Its human T-Vax roared, slamming his fist onto the console. He turned to the tactical officer. Fire on their cities. If they won't surrender, we'll make them beg for mercy. The weapons of the Dominion charged, glowing ominously. But just as the first missiles launched, they vanished, disintegrated in midair. No explosion, no debris, just gone on the surface. Director Kane stood in a control room deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Surrounded by a team of engineers and strategists, he watched the feed of the disintegrated missiles and nodded approvingly. Phase 2 is a success. One of the engineers reported. Kane didn't smile, but his tone carried quiet confidence. Let them keep testing us. The more they push, the more we learn. The longer they hesitate, the stronger we become. The Galactic Empire had faced rebellions before, but Earth's tactics were unlike anything in their playbook. The humans weren't panicking, and they weren't begging. They weren't even fighting in the traditional sense. They were simply outmaneuvering. It wasn't just military strength the humans were using. It was their ingenuity. The Empire's fleet hovered uselessly, systems in chaos inside their ships. The soldiers prepared to deploy, but found their navigation tools locked in, weapons unresponsive. The Dominion's bridge was a scene of frustration and rising panic. Admiral, our troops are stuck. We can't land, an officer reported. Why not? Torvek snapped. The interference, it's jamming everything. Every attempt to counter it only makes the system shut down. Further, TVX gritted his teeth. They think they can mock us with these tricks. Prepare the orbital bombardment. We don't need precision. We'll turn their planet into ash. But as the Empire geared up for destruction, Earth responded in silence. Once more across the globe, human military commanders coordinated their defenses, using a network that the Empire couldn't detect. Cables, ground relays, and ancient analog systems, criminal by galactic standards, yet impossible for the Empire's advanced technology to hack. Earth's leaders had anticipated this moment for years. They had no illusions about diplomacy. With the Empire, the only way to survive was to fight, and they had prepared for every scenario, no matter how bleak. Back on the Dominion, Tiva's rage reached its peak. If their skies are impenetrable, we'll attack from below. Prepare infiltration teams. I want boots on the ground within the next rotation. Lauren hesitated again. So perhaps we should pull back and reassess this planet. These humans are not what we expected. They're not the helpless species we thought. T-Vax turned on him, his eyes blazing. Pull back, and let the galaxy think the Empire was outsmarted by a backwater world. No, we will crush them no matter the cost. Even as he spoke, the doubts Lauren had voiced noted him. The humans had revealed only fragments of their capabilities. Yet those fragments were enough to stall the might of the Empire. What else were they hiding on Earth? Director Kane watched the situation unfold with the calm precision of a chess master. They'll try to land next, he said almost to himself. His second in command, a sharp-eyed woman named Colonel Reed, stepped forward. Shall we engage? AG Phase 3. Sir Kane considered this for a moment before shaking his head. Not yet. Let them come. Let them think they have the upper hand. When they're close enough to strike, we'll show them what they're truly up against. The Empire strikes back. TX's patience was wearing thin. The silence from Earth wasn't fear, it was defiance, a calculated insult to the Galactic Empire's authority. The Admiral's pride burned like a flame as he barked orders to his officers. Deploy the infiltration teams. I want boots on that planet. Immediately. No more games. The infiltration pods launched from the Empire's fleet, sleek and designed to bypass detection systems. Dozens of PODs descended into Earth's atmosphere, streaking like meteors toward key locations identified by the Empire's intelligence. But the moment they entered Earth's skies, the traps were sprung high above the ground. The ODS encountered turbulence, unnatural, targeted, invisible energy. Pulses scrambled their systems, redirecting them from their intended destinations. Some pods spun uncontrollably, while others were guided into barren deserts or frozen wastelands far from any population centers on the surface. One pod managed to crash land near a forest. It all sizzled from the atmospheric entry, and the door hissed open. A squad of elite Empire soldiers clad in black armor and armed with plasma rifles emerged, their movements sharp and efficient. Sergeant Carr, the squad leader, scanned the area with his visor. No resistance detected. Let's move out. Our target is 10 clicks northwest. The squad moved silently through the forest, their advanced sensors scanning for signs of human activity. But the forest seemed alive in ways they didn't expect. Strange sounds echoed through the trees, and the shadows shifted unnaturally. Sergeant, one soldier, whispered, "Something's not right here." Kay ignored the unease in his team. "Stay focused, humans are primitive. This is just their environment playing tricks on you." But the tricks weren't natural. Hidden in the foliage, small drones, the size of birds, followed the squads, every move equipped with thermal imaging and advanced cloaking. They transmitted real-time data back to an underground control room deep beneath Earth's surface. Colonel Reed watched the feed from the drones, her expression grim. "They've landed. Zone 12, squad size 10 orders." Director Kane leaned over her shoulder, his eyes narrowing. "Engage, no casualties. Let them feel our presence." Reed relayed the command, and the trap was set as the Empire squad moved deeper into the forest. Their equipment began to malfunction. First, their communications went dead. Then their visors displayed false readings, phantom heat signatures, and movement in every direction. "Regroup," Carr ordered, his voice tense. "This is interference. Stay close and keep your weapons ready." But it was no use. The forest itself seemed to come alive. Trees groaned and creaked as if they were moving, and the ground beneath their feet shifted unnaturally. Suddenly, a net of vines shot from the underbrush, entangling two soldiers and dragging them away. Before they could react, fire, Carr shouted, but their plasma rifles sparked and died in their hands. Whatever force had scrambled their systems before was now rendering their weapons useless. From the shadows, figures emerged, not human soldiers, but machines. Earth's autonomous defense units, sleek and silent, surrounded the squad. Their non-lethal weaponry hummed as they advanced, herding the soldiers into a clearing. Kay's squad tried to fight back with blades and brute force, but the machines were too fast, too precise. Within minutes, the elite squad was disarmed and immobilized, trapped in energy fields that neutralized their movements without harm. In the control room, Colonel Reed smirked. "Textbook execution. They didn't stand a chance." Kane, however, remained serious. "This is just the beginning. The Empire will escalate. They'll send stronger forces next time on board." The Dominion Torvak received the report of the failed infiltration with barely contained fury. "They captured my soldiers. A backwater planet dared to take Imperial prisoners." Lore shifted uneasily. "Admiral, this planet's defenses are unlike anything we've encountered. Perhaps it would be wise to what? Negotiate, beg for their mercy." Torvak slammed his fist onto the console. "No, we will respond with overwhelming force. Prepare the full fleet for planetary bombardment. If they want a war, we'll give them one. They'll never forget." As the Dominion's crew scrambled to ready the fleet, Torvak stared at the blue and green planet on the view screen. "You've tested my patience long enough, humans. Now you'll see what it means to defy the Galactic Empire back on Earth." Kane anticipated the Empire's retaliation. "They'll come in force now," he said, his voice calm but resolute. Reed crossed her arms. "Let them. Every move they make, we see to her. Every attack they launch, we turn it against them." Kane nodded. "And when they finally realize brute force won't work, that's when we hit them with where it hurts most." For now, Earth waited, its defenses hidden in plain sight. The humans knew the Empire's arrogance was their greatest weakness, and they intended to exploit it to the fullest. TX's wrath would bring the Empire's full might down on Earth. But humanity was ready in this silent game of survival. Every move was calculated, every moment an opportunity. The Galactic Empire believed they were the hunters. They hadn't yet realized eyes. They were the prey. Humanity strikes back. The Galactic Empire's fleet loomed over Earth like an ominous storm. Admiral TVX had spared no resources in assembling the might of the Empire. Dozens of warships, equipped with devastating weaponry, now orbited the planet. "Begin planetary bombardment." TVX ordered, his voice called. "Let Earth understand the consequences of defiance." On board the Dominion, the crew moved swiftly. The targeting systems locked onto key locations on Earth, major cities, industrial hubs, and military installations. Plasma cannons powered up, their energy readings spiking as they prepared to unleash destruction. But as the first salvo was fired, something unexpected happened. The plasma rounds didn't reach their targets. Instead, they detonated mid-flight, creating harmless bursts of light in the upper atmosphere. The fleet's targeting systems went haywire, displaying error messages and flashing warnings. "What is this?" TVX growled. "Why aren't the weapons connecting?" A young officer stammered. "Sir, it appears their atmosphere has been modified. Some kind of energy field is neutralizing our projectiles before they make contact. Impossible. No primitive species has this kind of technology." TVX slammed his fist on the console. "Find a way through that field now." But Earth wasn't just defending, it was striking back. High above the planet, swarms of objects emerged from the surface, moving with unnatural speed. At first, the Imperial fleet dismissed them as debris or satellites. But as they drew closer, the true nature of Earth's counterattack became clear. They were drones, thousands of them. Each one was small, sleek, and heavily armed with advanced weaponry. The drones moved with precision, targeting the Empire's smaller ships. They darted through the fleet like a coordinated swarm of wasps, overwhelming the Imperial vessels with their numbers and speed. One cruiser, the Imperius, tried to defend itself, firing its anti-aircraft turrets at the drones. The effort was futile. The drones moved too quickly, evading the turret fire and retaliating with concentrated energy blasts. Within moments, the Imperius was crippled, its engines destroyed, and its systems offline. This isn't possible, muttered Lauren, TX's second-in-command. As the chaos unfolded on the view screen, Tiva's anger boiled over. Concentrate fire on those drones. Use every available weapon. The fleet's warships unleashed a torrent of firepower, trying to destroy the relentless swarm. But for every drone they shot down, 10 more seemed to take its place. The swarm's strategy was clear: disable, not destroy. They targeted engines, weapon systems, and communication arrays, rendering the ships helpless in the command center deep beneath Earth's surface. Director Kane watched the operation with a rare smile. Perfect. Keep them occupied. The more resources they waste on the drones, the better. Colonel Reed stood beside him, arms crossed. The fleet is massive. We can't rely on the drones alone. What's the next phase? C's smile faded. You'll see soon enough. Back in orbit, TVX realized the situation was spiraling out of control. Pull the fleet back, regroup at a safe distance. As the Imperial ships began to retreat, a new threat emerged from the dark side of the moon. Hidden hangars opened, and Earth's secret weapon was revealed. Massive ships, larger than anything the Empire had anticipated, emerged from hiding. These vessels were unlike the Empire's sleek, intimidating designs. Earth ships were built for function over form, with reinforced hulls and unconventional shapes that spoke of raw ingenuity. Each ship bristled with weapons, missile pods, rail guns, and energy cannons, powered by cutting-edge human technology. And they were fast despite their size. Earth ships moved with surprising agility, closing the distance to the Imperial fleet with alarming speed. On the Dominion, Lauren's voice trembled. Admiral, those ships, they outclass us in firepower. And they've been lying in wait this entire time. TVX clenched his fists. I will not retreat from a backwater species. Order the fleet to hold the line. The battle that followed was a spectacle of strategy and innovation. Earth ships didn't just rely on brute force. They used tactics the Empire had never encountered. Decoys confused the fleet's targeting systems, while coordinated strikes exploited the weaknesses in Imperial ship designs. One by one, the Empire's ships were disabled or forced to flee. The drones and Earth's capital ships worked in perfect harmony, turning the tide of the battle. On the surface, Khan monitored the progress. They're falling apart. The Empire isn't used to fighting an enemy that thinks like we do. Reed nodded. What's the next move? C's expression turned serious. We send them a message they can't ignore. Launch the blackout protocol. High above Earth, satellites activated, releasing powerful electromagnetic pulses. The pulses rippled through space, targeting the Empire's remaining ships. Their systems flickered and died, leaving them adrift and vulnerable. On the Dominion, Tiva's rage gave way to dread. How are they doing this? The answer was simple. Earth had been preparing for this moment for decades. While the Empire grew complacent in its dominance, humanity had been quietly building, innovating, and adapting. Now the hunters had become the hunted. As the remnants of the Imperial fleet limped away, Earth sent a single transmission to the Dominion. Your arrogance is your downfall. Leave our world and never return. For the first time in his career, Admiral Tivax felt the sting of defeat. The Empire's reckoning. The Dominion drifted in silence, its once formidable systems dark and unresponsive. Admiral Tivax stared at the dim view screen, now flickering with static. The silence was oppressive, punctuated only by the hum of emergency power. Admiral Lauren said cautiously, breaking the tense quiet. The fleet, what remains of it, is awaiting orders. Tivax turned to his second-in-command, his face a mask of fury and disbelief. Awaiting orders to do what exactly? We are crippled. Half the fleet is lost, and Earth, this primitive backwater, has humiliated the Empire. Lauren didn't reply. He knew there was nothing he could say to ease Tiva's wounded pride. But deep down, He felt something far worse than humiliation. Fear. Earth hadn't just defended itself. It had systematically dismantled the Empire's military might with terrifying precision. Every move humanity made seemed calculated, deliberate, as if they'd been studying the Empire for years. And the worst part, Lurin knew this, wasn't the end on Earth. The mood in the underground command center was one of restrained triumph. Director Kane leaned over the console, studying the holographic display of the crippled Imperial fleet. They are in disarray. Kane observed. Now's the time to strike. We have the momentum. Colonel Reed raised an eyebrow. You're suggesting we attack them outright, push into their territory? Kane shook his head. Not yet. We're not conquering, Colonel. This was a message, not an invasion. But we will make it clear that any further aggression will cost them dearly. Reed nodded. Understood. What's the next step? Kane's expression darkened. We remind them what happens when you cornered humanity. Prepare the final phase. Above Earth, humanity's fleet began to move. The drones, now returning from their assault, surrounded the remaining Imperial ships like predators circling wounded prey. The larger capital ships positioned themselves strategically, their weapons trained on the Dominion and its surviving allies. A transmission was sent to the Dominion. This is Director Kane of Earth's Defense Command. A calm, commanding voice announced, you have violated our sovereignty, attacked our people, and underestimated our resolve. Now you will face the consequences of your arrogance. THX's jaw tightened as listened. What is it you want, Earthling? Simple. Kane replied, you will order your fleet to retreat. You will report to your Emperor that Earth is no one's colony, no one's plaything. And if you or your Empire ever set foot in our system again, we will ensure you do not leave it alive. The Admiral's pride rebelled against the idea of capitulating to a species he had dismissed as insignificant. And if I refuse? There was a pause. Then Kane's voice dropped to an icy tone. Then we will show you what true devastation looks like. As if on cue, one of Earth's capital ships powered up its main weapon, a beam of humanity's final warning. The main weapon of Earth's flagship, Resolute Dawn, charged to full power. A low hum reverberated across the void, and a fiery red glow pulsed from the ship's bow. The Galactic Empire's fleet, battered and vulnerable, watched in silence on board. The Dominion Admiral Tivax dealt an unfamiliar chill crawled down his spine. Admiral Lauren said hesitantly, breaking the tense silence, their weapon is targeting us. I can see that. Torvex snapped, but his usual confidence was absent. He clenched his fists, his mind racing for options, but no matter how he analyzed the situation, it always came back to the same grim truth. Earth had outmaneuvered the Empire at every turn. A transmission came through again from Earth. Director Kane's voice was calm, but carried an edge that sent shivers through the Dominion's bridge. You've underestimated humanity. Once Kane began, do not make that mistake again. This is your last chance to retreat and take a message back to your Emperor. Earth will not be conquered ever. Torv's pride burned within him, but he knew he couldn't let his emotions guide him now. His fleet was crippled, and Earth had proven it could destroy them effortlessly. Still surrendering to a species he had deemed primitive, the thought was unbearable. He turned to Lauren. Have we restored long-range communications? Yet partially. Lauren replied, we can send a message, but we still unable to receive reinforcements. TX's mind spun. Without reinforcement, the fleet couldn't stand a chance, and if Earth followed through on its threat, the Dominion would become little more than dibs floating in the void. Open a channel to all ships. Tivax ordered, his voice tight with suppressed fury. Lauren hesitated. Admiral, do it. Tivax sparked. The channel crackled to life, broadcasting across the remnants of the Imperial fleet. Tivax cleared his throat, summoning as much authority as he could muster. This is Admiral TVX2. All surviving vessels begin withdrawal from Earth's orbit. Immediately regroup at the Rivaz point in the Epsilon sector. To not engage further. A murmur rippled through the Dominion's bridge crew. Even Lauren looked stunned. We're retreating. One officer whispered. Tivax shot the officer a glare that could melt steel. Follow the order. Now the Imperial fleet began to pull back, engines flaring weakly as the surviving ships limped away from Earth. The drones surrounding them parted, allowing the ships to leave but maintaining a watchful presence. Earth's capital ships remained in position, their weapons trained on the retreating vessels. Back in Earth's command center, Kane observed the withdrawal with a satisfied nod. They're running, Colonel. Reed crossed his arms, his expression unreadable. Do you think they've learned their lesson? KP's smile was thin. No, not entirely, But they know we're not defenseless anymore, that's enough for now. Reed frowned. What about their emperor? He won't take this lightly. He'll send reinforcements eventually. I'm counting on it, Kane said quietly. This isn't over, not by a long shot. But the next time they come, they'll face a humanity united and prepared on the Dominion, as the battered fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace. T-Vax paced the bridge like a caged animal. His fury at the situation boiled over. This humiliation will not go unanswered, he growled. The Emperor must know of this treachery. Lauren hesitated and spoke carefully. Admiral, with respect, perhaps we underestimated them, perhaps enough. T-Vax roared, slamming his fist on a console. I will not hear excuses. Earth's defy I is an affront to the Empire, and it will be crushed. The Dominion shuddered as it entered hyperspace, leaving Earth. Died. But in the hearts of its crew, a seed of doubt had been planted. Humanity had proven itself to be far more than the Empire's propaganda had claimed, and as whispers spread among the fleet, one question lingered in every mind. What if Earth wasn't just defending itself? What if this was only the beginning? The Empire strikes back. The Dominion had returned to the heart of the Galactic Empire, but its crew was not greeted with the usual pomp and ceremony. Instead, the ship limped into the capital system, damaged, bruised, and haunted by the encounter with Earth. The once proud fleet was now a shadow of its former self, and Admiral TVX could feel the weight of failure pressing down on him. Torvak stood in the war room, his hands clasped behind his back, as he stared at the holographic map of the galaxy. The vastness of the Empire lay before him, but it seemed so small now, so fragile. His mind raced, replaying the humiliating defeat at Earth's hands. He had underestimated the humans, and it had nearly cost him everything. Behind him, the doors to the war room opened with a soft hiss, and an Imperial aide stepped in, bowing low. Admiral, the Emperor requests your immediate presence. Tiva's heart sank. He had been dreading this moment, but there was no escaping it. The Emperor's wrath was a force of nature, and it would be swiftly. The way Tivax muttered, his voice cold. The aide nodded and led him through the corridors, their footsteps echoing in the empty halls of the Imperial Citadel. As they entered the Emperor's throne room, Torvak could feel the oppressive atmosphere closing in on him. The room was vast, its high seal ceilings filled with dark banners and glowing symbols of power. On the throne sat the Emperor, a figure of supreme authority, his eyes glowing with an unnatural intensity. You have returned, Admiral. The Emperor's voice boomed, smooth and filled with menace. And yet I see no victory in your wake. Tivax dropped to one knee, his head bowed in submission. My Emperor, we were struck by an unforeseen force. The humans. The Emperor interrupted, his voice tinged with disdain. Tell me, TVX, how is it that a species so primitive could cause such chaos for the might of the Empire? Torvak swallowed hard, his mind racing for an answer. They are more than we expected, my Emperor. Their technology, their tactics, we underestimated them. They had weaponry that was beyond anything we've encountered. They acted with precision, with a kind of strategic brilliance we've never seen before. The Emperor's eyes narrowed, his fingers tapping the armrest of the throne. So you admit failure? Tivax hesitated, but then nodded. Yes, my Emperor, we failed to break them, but we can still retaliate. We can rebuild our fleet and destroy Earth. They will not dare defy us again. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Thorx could feel the weight of his gaze, a force that could crush the strongest of wills. Then the Emperor spoke, his voice dark and heavy with authority. No, Admiral, this is not about rebuilding our fleet or mere revenge. This is about teaching Earth and the galaxy what happens when they dare challenge the Empire. He rose from his throne, his presence filling the room like a storm cloud. It is time for a reckoning. Torvak Street, a sense of unease settling over him. What do you propose, my Emperor? The Emperor smiled, but it was a smile that did not reach his eyes. We shall send a fleet to Earth, yes, but this time we will not only crush their military, we will make an example of their entire world. They will know the full power of the Empire. TVX, his heart raced, a flicker of doubt creeping into his mind. But my Emperor, their defenses enough. The Emperor's voice was like thunder shaking the very foundation of the Citadel. I have grown tired of hearing excuses. The time for hesitation is over. You will gather the fleet, and you will show Earth what happens when they provoke the Empire. Do not fail me again. Admiral Tivax bowed deeply, his mind a swirl of conflicting emotions. He was a loyal servant of the Empire, but something about this mission felt wrong. Earth had proven itself resilient. They had already struck back once. What if they could do it again? But his doubts were irrelevant. The Emperor's command was absolute. Understood, my Emperor Torvak, said his voice low and unwiring. We will strike at Earth with everything we have. The Emperor's eyes gleamed with cruel satisfaction. See that you do as. Tivax left the throne room. The weight of his mission settled heavily on his shoulders. He was preparing to launch an invasion that would make the previous assault seem like a mere skirmish. The Empire would strike with such overwhelming force that Earth would never dare to resist again. But deep within, a gnawing feeling lingered. What if humanity had more surprises in store? What if the humans had been holding back as the Dominion began to prepare for the next stage of the war? TVX couldn't shake the feeling that this time the stakes were higher than ever, and no matter how many ships the Empire threw at Earth, the question that haunted him remained: could they truly break humanity's will to fight?